So I'm here with Micron Technology. I've got Rob Peglar. He is the Vice President of Advanced Storage at Micron. Internally, he's known as the Chief Geek. Right. So, he's the right person to speak to about what Micron is showing at the show. And we do know that, you've got at least four different configurations of vSAN-ready nodes that look really cool.
Yep.
But one of the statements that Micron is making is that in order to really get the advantages and to leverage virtualization properly, you simply must use flash storage. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And it is a must. In this day and age, I consider it a must, but there's really three technical reasons why that's so. So reason number one is the process of booting, right? Starting your machines. So VMs and especially virtual desktop images, we've known for years in the storage business that it's highly dependent on the latency, and smaller is better, of the storage. Because we'll sit there at our desktop and we expect our desktop image to come up in a reasonable amount of time. As fast as if I really had a desktop in front of me with a disk, right? So in VDI, everybody logging in or everybody booting at once create this thing we call a boot storm. So shaving the latencies down and having the storage respond very quickly to get those images up and running, fundamentally important. And guess what? At scale, into the hundreds or thousands of VDI, that becomes even more important. So using low latency flash, really important for boot. So now we've got these machines booted, we come to reason number two. It's how the VMs operate, once they're up and running. So they're carrying workload, they're servicing user apps, and they have complete dependence on their storage. VMFS and now vSAN, right? So we have these vSAN-ready nodes. And VMware has done something smart in that vSAN is cache and capacity, right? So they've split up the flash world, perfectly aligned for both, because again, when the VM has to wait for the storage to respond to it, and if you're using rotating disk, it might wait some number of milliseconds, right? Doesn't sound like a long time, but it's an eternity if you're the CPU, right? So now putting flash in that place where you're waiting some number of microseconds for the system to respond, and now the VMs are more efficient. I get more done in unit time, and oh, by the way, this means I can put more VMs inside a given server.
So I can actually increase my density then.
Absolutely right. So VM density is key, right? Because I have to figure out how many servers to buy, how much memory, how much flash. All that equation comes down, so you want to make it as efficient as possible. So using the fastest storage available gives you the best VM density. There's a great TCO play in there.
Oh, okay.
So that's reason number two is VM density. And then the third, arguably the most important, is the apps themselves. I mean, after all, why do you stand up virtual infrastructure? It's to run applications at scale, right? And the hypervisor is doing wonderful things, and vMotion and moving things around, that's all great, but if your app doesn't run well, you might as well be running on bare metal, right? Let's be honest. So having the apps, which again, make requests to the hypervisor and get to their storage, because after all, the hypervisor is the custodian of that storage, right? So having the apps access their storage at flash latencies, right? Again, the apps are much more efficient. So what happens is the CPUs get busier, which is a good thing.
It was one of the things we were looking for in virtualization in the first place.
That's exactly correct, is to utilize the CPUs. So having your apps run more efficiently, use more CPU, right? This is the whole idea behind scale out, is to try to get the apps to run as efficiently as possible, like they were in bare metal, but now scaling them and getting much more efficiencies of scale and better TCO for the apps. Okay. So the app owners are very happy, right, because their apps are reacting nice and quickly. The people that are running the infrastructure, the data center is happy because they got great VM density, right? And then finally, you and I, the users at our desk, we're happy because our desktop comes up quickly and life is good.
That's it. Happy end users, the kind that don't complain, are the best thing.
Exactly right.
But not everybody uses flash in their virtualized environment.
Sure, true.
What are organizations giving up if they, for whatever reason, choose not to leverage the technology?
Well, great question. You could think of it as the inverse of what we just talked about, right? So the VDI experience becomes not nearly as pleasant, right? So it's like, well, why shouldn't I just go back to bare metal, and it's not that expensive anyway, so why not do that, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is, and then you get the VMs, and then you get the application owners, again, which are paramount to that. They're going to go to IT and say, no, no, we want physical servers. We're going to take our thing off the VM and run it on a physical server. So there's that. Then the other thing is you become a prisoner, right, to use a word, of physical infrastructure and trying to scale, right? And again, one of the things about virtualization that works so well is the ability to scale it out, and now with vSAN even more so, right? Using that virtual SAN technique to scale out.
Okay.
So that's what becomes really important.
Yeah, so they are giving up quite a bit, really not realizing that full potential.
Right.
So where should viewers or readers, where should they go to?
Sure.
Or actually, I've got two questions for you.
Okay.
First, if you had one sentence like, hey, what's the key takeaway that Micron wants you to understand about what's going on in Flash today, and then where should we go to get more information about
so
that?
I think the key takeaway, and again, with all the technology that we can bring to bear, is that we make virtualization very efficient, right? And again, that's been the struggle since VMware came out years and years ago, and other virtualization techniques. We wanted to make it more efficient to realize the promise of virtualization, right? Very fast, very efficient storage is a key element of that, so that's a takeaway. And then, at Micron, we have our website, micron.com/virtualization. You can go there, all sorts of materials on that, specifically about running virtual machines, how Flash interacts with it, vSAN, all of that is at micron.com/virtualization.
Okay, outstanding. Rob, it's been great speaking to you today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.